people, and welcome to New York City, people. There's your beautiful, beautiful New York City. I have something very important to talk about tonight. I'm going to wait for my people to come in. You can share if you want, people. Absolutely not a problem. I'm going to hold on. I am going to hide chat for me. Okay, I am going to hide chat for me, but you can chat. I ask that all my followers be very respectful and that all my followers do not get into any name calling with anyone, say anything rude. If people want to troll my scope, that's their right. But I ask that all of my regular followers please refrain from any name calling, any bad behavior. As you know, we usually have a lot of fun on my scopes. It's a fun, safe zone for everyone. Everyone is always welcome in my scopes. And I have a lot to talk about today, so I'm going to wait for everyone to come in. If you've invited followers, I thank you for inviting followers. This is a very difficult scope for me to do because, as everyone knows, I usually feed off the energy of my followers. I am arguably the most interactive scoper on Periscope. I like to read all the comments. I like to respond to all the comments. But I'm going to do this virtually in the dark without seeing any of the comments. I may or may not watch this on replay. So very quickly, now that I have everyone in, Boop Fashionista, who I think is on this scope, was part of Safer, I'm going to get it wrong, Safer Internet Day for kids in London. And there are people that I've been calling out as Periscope. They've been gaming the trending list. I've been calling them out for a while. Chantal TV, at by Mr. Matthews, and at Orion. And Orion and by Mr. Matthews took it upon themselves. First, Orion tweeted tagging the organization in response to a positive tweet about Boop Fashionista when Orion called myself and Boop Fashionista bullies on Twitter. He launched the first salvo. I've made a lot of statements on my Periscope. If you want to say I'm a bully, my argument is that I have 18,000 followers, and between the three of them, by Mr. Matthews, at Chantal TV, and at Orion, they have 330,000 followers. Would you say that David bullied Goliath? So the argument that I'm bullying any of them when they're, more almost 20 times as many followers as I am is absolutely ludicrous in my opinion. So I have two theories as to why they did it. I'll get to that in a second. But basically what happened is this: by Mr. Matthews and Orion emailed the organization saying that Boop Fashionista should not be involved. The organization decided to continue with Boop. They were slightly worried about possible trolling and anything like that. When Boop tweeted that she was going to be at the event again recently, they followed up with Tony followed up with another, by Mr. Matthews followed up with another email and actually phoned to say that she shouldn't be included, basically trying to subterfuge and bully the organization into not having Boop Fashionista. So now Boop Fashionista goes to do a scope at this event, a lovely scope, and at Chantal TV, who has blocked Boop Fashionista and who has blocked myself on both Twitter and Periscope, unblocked. And Boop had no reason to know that anything was going to happen. And to show you, Boop was actually worried that something would happen on the scope, and I underestimated how evil these people are. And I said to her, don't worry, they're not going to do anything to your scope. They're just, now that you're attending, they're just going to leave you alone. But they didn't. And Chantal TV came in, immediately invited followers, and immediately put a post up about bullying. She claims it was just an innocent question about bullying, but she had that prepared. She was ready. She took a screenshot of it to save it because Boop Fashionista immediately ended the scope and deleted the scope. So she trolled the scope. And as all of you know, when I talk about them and people say, oh, I'm going to go in their scopes and raise hell, I say, no, people, we don't troll anybody's scopes. We can disagree with them. We can speak about them here. You can speak about them on your Periscopes, but we don't troll anybody's scopes. So these are three of the so-called leading Periscopers. Chantal TV wants to be a commercial spokesperson on Periscope, and yet she's participating in internet bullying. If you want a history of what happened, I have two theories on why they did this. The one theory is this was their way of getting at me because I told the true story of why Boop Fashionista was forced to block Orion a long time ago on Periscope. I told that a few days ago, and that's what started Orion's RonWaxman and Boop Fashionista are a bully. I can say with absolute conviction that Boop Fashionista has never said a mean comment about anyone on her scopes. She doesn't say mean things on my scope about anyone. She's actually a wonderful human being, does a lot of good on Periscope, was trying to do some good today, is raising money for teenage cancer awareness, and yet they found it necessary. I guess one theory is that they were trying to get to me by doing this. I have another theory, and another theory involves that Orion has always been jealous of Boop Fashionista and wants to be the #1 scoper in the UK, and he is a striver. And let me explain. Early on Scope, Orion, the first time she ever met, Boop ever met Orion, he walked up to her live on her Periscope. Now, I have what we jokingly call a Periscope stalker. Hyro is my good friend. Hyro was one who used to be in my scopes, and one day he messaged me, "Hey, I saw you on the street." I said, "Oh, you should have said hi." He said, "Really? I can say that?" I said, "Sure." And Hyro, after that, came up in a couple of my scopes, but, you know, he had already checked with me if it was okay. The idea of walking up into someone's scope live when they're doing a scope, if you haven't asked permission, that is just not polite, and it's an absolute interjection into their scope, and you're basically thrusting yourself into their scope. So the second time that Boop Fashionista met Orion, she and My Blonde Reality got together because they were at the time the two leading scopers in London, and they decided to do a scope together. So well into the scope, Orion comes running in, just runs into the scope and throws himself in like he's a top London periscoper. But what are you going to say when someone does that? You're not going to say, "Get the hell out of my scope." So they embraced him in their scope. Okay? So what Orion would then do is every time Boop Fashionista would do a scope, the next day Orion would do the same scope. It got to the point where he was copying her titles, and, you know, Boop was like, "What can I do about this?" And then before she could even have a talk with Orion about it, she was doing a scope one day of a sunset in London, and about 45 minutes into her scope, he runs up to a very similar location. He doesn't run into her scope, but he runs up to a similar location and starts filming the same scene. So Boop felt the only way to avoid this harassment and this, this stalking behavior basically on Twitter and on Periscope was to block him on Twitter and Periscope, which she did. I told that story a few days ago, and that's what prompted him saying, "Bully this, bully that." Do I make jokes about people on my Periscope? You bet I do. Do I make jokes about myself? You bet I do. Do I make jokes about my good friend Boop Fashionista? You bet I do. And what bothers me about the followers of these people, it's Donald Trump. Okay, Donald Trump has said that his followers are so blindly loyal to him that if he was to shoot someone in plain view on Fifth Avenue, he wouldn't lose any supporters. Well, that's the way I feel about the people who support Chantal TV by Mr. Matthews and Orion. No matter what they do, no matter how much proof you give them that they're not good people, that they're gaming the Periscope trending list, these people argue that they're not. They argue that they're good people. They argue this and that. They're just close friends, okay? You know what? They may be close friends. I'm close friends with Jeff Goldberg. I'm close friends with Boop Fashionista. We support each other's Periscopes, but we do not participate in a gaming system to get on the trending list, which is what those three did for weeks. And that's what started me calling them out. I had never said a bad word about any of the three of them until someone, and I honestly do not recall who, pointed out to me what they were doing to game the Periscope trending list. I then went and watched on my own, saw what they were doing, and started calling them out on Periscope. They actually started modifying a little bit from doing only 4-minute scopes to doing slightly longer scopes, but nothing like what they used to do. And as a matter of fact, I have proof that at least on one occasion, if not on more, by Mr. Matthews invited Orion's followers to his scope from a second device when Orion was indeed asleep and not on the scope. So these are not good people. I'm sorry to say that. They're really not good people. They went after a very nice person, okay? Either, like I said, out of Orion's jealousy, okay, or out of the fact that they wanted to get to me. I'm here to tell you that I'm not going to stop calling out, people who I don't think are real when I see what they're doing. And I'd like to read a letter now. I'd like to read something. Hold on, I've got to go to some light. And let me say hello, and this is very difficult. I cannot tell you how difficult this is for me because I usually feed off the energy of my followers, and I always say I have the best followers on Periscope. And for anyone who knows me, I don't tolerate racism on my scope. I don't tolerate hate. We hate Donald Trump because Donald Trump's an asshole. But we're very good about not hating and making everyone feel welcome. And I've had people that I've made fun of. I used to make fun of Alex Kahn. Alex Kahn came on my scope, was very warmly received. I had an open feud with another Periscoper. He came and apologized to me, and he is now a very good friend of mine, and he was welcomed by my viewers on Scope. So I'm going to read something that I got from another viewer, and the viewer said, most people don't care and don't understand that what's been lost is respect and trust with these original pioneering scopers who we used to respect and befriend. And that instead of collaborating with us, as in the spirit of Periscope, they parted company with us all to advance themselves, etc., in a clandestine way. That's what's the most annoying thing. Okay, and that's what they did. Okay, they all have an agenda of wanting to make money. Chantal TV now has an agent on Periscope and wants to make money from live streaming. Okay, and so what they did was they gamed the trending list for their own advantage, sacrificed the quality of their scopes, which, as you people know, I never sacrifice the quality of my scopes. We always have fun here. You know, hold on, I want to give you the view again. I have made, I'm going to put on my gloves because it's quite cold. It's 34 degrees Fahrenheit, 1 degree Celsius. But I like to show you New York City while we're doing this. I never sacrifice the quality of my scope. And I made a joke about some of the bars. I would make a joke that he would pleasure himself while watching my scopes. It was a joke, and everyone knew it was a joke. But yet they claimed, oh, that's so offensive. I make jokes about me, my inadequacies, okay? That's what life's about, making jokes, okay? If the person didn't like that I was making jokes and sent me a message and said, I feel it's inappropriate, I would have engaged him. As a matter of fact, when supporters of Chantal TV by Mr. Matthews and Orion tweet at me, I invite them private for a discussion. It usually leads to nowhere, but I invite them to discuss. Unlike those three, where if you go into their scope and even just ask a question about me, you get immediately blocked. Now, this was intentional trolling today. I want to be very clear. This was intentional trolling today by Chantal TV. She had blocked Boop Fashionista on Periscope and on Twitter. She unblocked her, okay, and came on the scope and threw in a comment that disrupted the scope. That is trolling, okay? That is trolling. Whatever you want to call it, it's trolling. She can say it was a simple question. No. Just like they collaborated to game the Periscope system, this was a collaboration by the three of them to discredit Boop Fashionista, to make her look bad. What's next? They're going to go, you know, who knows where that stops? Do they go to her employer? I mean, it's ridiculous. She has a real job. She's a wonderful human being. She's very good at her job. She's a very good Periscoper. She's a very warm person. And she's loved by her 30,000 followers, which she has earned by her hard work on Periscope, not by gaming anybody. She gets support of her viewers, right? But there's no absolute coordinated attempt to get Boop Fashionista more followers, okay? Just like there's no coordinated attempt to get me more followers. I think Jeff Goldberg's on here. There's no coordinated attempt to get him more followers. We support each other's scopes. We invite to a very, very small amount of each other's scopes. If we think someone's doing a good scope that needs to be talked about, we do. Sorry, my battery's not working. Then we invite to the scope, okay? But we do not coordinate. We do not pump up each other's numbers. We do not try to get on the trending list by gaming the trending list system. What's funny is now people say, let this lie. Yeah, but that's exactly what they want. Let this lie. Because the trending list has changed and they can no longer game the trending list. No, what they need to do is they need to apologize. They need to apologize and admit, rather than lie to even their close friends saying they were gaming the trending list system. I called someone a douchebag on my scope. I called a private person on Periscope a douchebag on one of my scopes. I, on my own, after getting 2 messages from people saying, you know what, that was inappropriate, the very next night, opened my scope with an apology. I said he may be petulant, he may be immature, he may be childish, but he still doesn't deserve me calling him that, okay? And I made an apology. So what did the people who wanted an apology from said? That wasn't a sincere apology. But of course it was a sincere apology, because I wouldn't have said it had I not meant it, and I felt it was important that I shouldn't be calling people names on my Periscopes, okay? All my viewers know I am not a bully. I cheer up my viewers when they're down. My Periscope is a happy place. So many of my viewers say my Periscope is a happy place. So many of Boop's viewers say Periscope is a happy place. You can watch whoever you want on Periscope. You can support whoever you want on Periscope, okay? But you don't have to blindly. If any of my viewers are ever upset about something I do, Tell me. I've had viewers tell me, I didn't like that you did that. I listen. I will engage. I will talk to you, and I will try and not do that again. Okay? But I have the right to have fun on my scopes. I have the right to call Donald Trump an asshole on my scopes. Many prominent TV comedians do it on their shows, right? We have a lot of fun here on what my viewers have dubbed Wax Nation. Okay, it's a great place. I love the view. I love the happiness I get from my viewers, and I love sharing my life and my happiness with my viewers. Boob Fashionista does the same. She does not deserve to be trolled. She did not deserve people trying to harm her reputation by calling up Safety Internet Day and by emailing them and say she shouldn't be participating because she's a bully, because Boob Fashionista is anything but a bully. She is a fine human being. She is a kind human being, okay? And she's a 27-year-old girl who did not deserve a coordinated attack upon her. And they owe her an apology. They owe their followers an apology for basically betraying their trust by inviting them into scam scopes. But most of all, they owe Boob Fashionista a public apology. They owe to call to Safety Internet Day and give an apology and said they were mistaken. This is a kind human being who is trying to do something good for kids. I want to say it again, for kids. And Chantal TV, by Mr. Matthews and Orion, okay, behaved absolutely horribly, and they should be ashamed and embarrassed about themselves. Okay, we'll see you at 2 o'clock. We'll watch the lights go out. I love Wax Nation. I love the best followers on Periscope, and I wish you all, hope you had a great day and a great night.